Welcome to Village Church Connections. I'm David Pavey. Everyone in Great Britain lives relatively close to the sea, so every maritime crisis or act of heroism receives much attention in the media. No surprise then that the story of a gallant sailor from my hometown of Bristol became headline news a few years ago. I speak of 57-year-old sailor Tony Bullimore, a competitor in the quadrennial Vendée Globe around the world yacht race in 1996. The race started on the west coast of France at Les Sables d'Olonne on November the 3rd, 1996, and finished on February the 16th, 1997. 15 magnificent sailboats set out to circumnavigate the globe, non-stop, single-handed, and without assistance. They set out across the Bay of Biscay in heavy weather, full of optimism. But only 6 completed the circuit due to extreme conditions that caused several to drop out. One of the dropouts was Tony Bullimore from Bristol. His yacht, the 60-foot Exide Challenger, made good progress until he hit exceptionally heavy weather, with waves the height of a 5-story building on Sunday, January the 5th, 1997. 1,400 miles south of the Australian coast and 900 miles from Antarctica. As his yacht plummeted down the face of a wave, the keel snapped off, and immediately the boat capsized. Tony managed to survive in the 2-meter by 3-meter cockpit thanks to a pocket of air. As giant waves buffeted the boat, water poured in and out of a broken window. Knee-high at one end, waist-high at the other. It was very cold, it was pitch black, and the sun couldn't penetrate the upturned yacht. Bullimore managed to fix up a makeshift hammock in the darkness out of some netting which enabled him to lie down with his head above water. His rations consisted of some chocolate, and he used a device for making fresh water from salty water, which worked for a couple of days. His fingers became frostbitten, and he thought that he was going to die, as the odds of being rescued seemed impossibly small. For 4 long days, Tony survived, until late Wednesday night, January the 9th, when an Australian military plane located him and dropped an electronic probe next to his yacht. Early the next morning, an Australian frigate, the Adelaide, drew alongside and dispatched some sailors to bang on the hull. Tony heard the banging, took a deep breath, and dived out through the wreckage of his yacht to meet them. They plucked him from the sea at 1 a.m. Another 24 hours in the wreck, and he would have exhausted the supply of oxygen. Reflecting on the experience later, Bullimore told reporters, "I've become a different person." As a dear friend of mine, when he had survived a heart attack, said, "It was like being born all over again." Well, that's how I feel now, like being born all over again. Now, being born all over again is not an expression given to us by politicians, the media, or even the church. It was pronounced by none other than Jesus himself during a rendezvous under cover of darkness with a religious and political leader who had doubts about whether he was good enough for God. He wasn't. So Jesus went right for the jugular, telling him he needed to be born again. And then Jesus backed into an explanation. Jesus explained that it's not about being good enough for God. We can't get there without a rescuer. We fall short, however good we are. You can't pull yourself up by your bootstraps. In fact, God invites us simply to call on him to rescue us. And when we believe in his Son Jesus, who took our judgment upon himself on the cross, we can enjoy everlasting life. He said the alternative is to perish and to be judged for not believing in God's one and only Son. In the Bible, the psalmist David used the rescue metaphor when he testified, God reached down from on high and took hold of me. He drew me out of deep waters. Perhaps you're in deep waters today, finding life a serious challenge, processing guilt, disappointed with life, desiring peace with God. Why not trust yourself to Jesus, the rescuer, so you can experience the new birth and a new life? The rescuer is at hand and he's waiting. Tony Bullimore had to take the initiative to dive out of his wreck and entrust his life to the brave crew of the Adelaide. Trust Jesus, the rescuer. And thank you for tuning in once again to Village Church Connections.